I'm planning out a cityscape on one of my Maplescapes. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to be quite monocolor. These two Yupo papers I have stained with alcohol ink, blacks and browns with a touch of white here and there. These are just black and white. This has a little bit of blue in it, and these are just white with a touch of grey and a tiny bit of blue. And then for the two water pieces, because I'm going to do reflection, there's silver. And where's my other water piece? I had two. Oh, here it is. This one has silver in it too. If you can, there, you can see that. So what I'm going to do is I am now going to cut up these Yupo paper pieces. You can see that. Once this has been resined, it is going to look just absolutely stunning. So my plan is I'm going to do two cityscapes. Not any particular city, they might resemble New York, but anyway, the sky is going to be really light and it's going to get a little darker, and then probably 3/4 of the way down I'm going to have the skyline of the city, and then water at the bottom, and then some reflection of the city in the water. And I'm going to use my cutter to cut out all the shapes and collage, and I will link all the descriptions below. So the way I cut my Yupo paper is I use a Fiskars cutter. I have another one, I don't know the name of it, but anyway, I bought it and it was too cheap, and quite frankly this wasn't a lot more, and it just has much better cutting guides. So I'm going to get on and cut this. Right now this is the water. I've got a bunch here that I've already cut, but basically I've got to get on and cut all of these. There's my buildings, my dark sky and water, my light sky, more buildings. So this is my favorite width, which is 1/2 inch. But I also like to throw in some skinny ones and some thick ones, but not 1 inch. This is 3/4 inch. I think 1 inch is too big. Except when I get to do the buildings, that's going to be interesting because they're going to be different heights, different widths. They're going to have to be like 1 inch, maybe 2 inch might be too much, but I'll see. I can always do a 2 inch and trim it down. And also, little word of advice, when I get to the end, before I had this one, and I have all these packages I buy, these are the portion size bags. So I gather all my colors together, otherwise I just find it too chaotic. But before I bought the Fiskars cutter, they weren't all precise, and so what I do now, as I get near the end of a piece of paper, so for example this is probably not exactly 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch, so I will cut it to say 1/2 inch. And then I throw this away because it's just an odd size and it's not going to match when you're doing a collage. When you're doing a precise collage and you want the pieces to match up, it's just not going to match, and you know, it just becomes awkward. So personally, I throw those away. Now, when it comes to my buildings, so these are going to have to be slightly chunkier because these are going to be skyscrapers. So, and then I have to think, okay, well this is my maple. Is that going to work? That might work for 1 or 2, but I think that's probably going to be too thick because I want these landscapes to be portrait, not landscape. So I'm going to cut this in half, and that could be 2 skyscrapers, and I could, you know, cut those. But I think 1 inch is going to be too thick. So I think I'm going to do 3/4 inch ones and some 1/2 inch ones, and you can see the different color in this Yupo ink is going to make the Cityscape stand out. So I'm really enjoying doing these Maplescapes. So that's what I've decided to call them now. They are my Maplescapes because I have seascapes, landscapes, and I'm going to do cityscapes. Anyway, so I've been on a cutting marathon and I have my buildings, my water, my lower sky, and probably some of the water. Now my upper sky, I'm still cutting, and I've got 1 more to go. So I've actually cut, I don't know, like 8 pieces of Yupo paper, plus all the staining. And you know, this is not a quick task. You have to like doing collage. I love doing collage personally. I find it just very, I don't know, I guess because I started as a sculptor, it's like building a painting rather than painting a painting. So it kind of covers or checks all the boxes for me. I am going to finish cutting these. I'm going to start laying them down on a board, and obviously because it's such a lengthy process, I can't video the whole thing because you'd fall asleep or switch off or just fast forward. So I'm going to try and do some time lapse so you can see the process in fast forward. Okay, well, I'm back to using my horrible tripod for this piece because my overhead tripod is very hard to capture everything. So all I have to do now is, this one's finished, well, apart from the resin. I'm going to trim the edges with you right now. This one doesn't have its reflection, and I was looking at this, and even though I love this, I love how dramatic, it's obviously a mirror image. On this one, I haven't got enough pieces, so I'm gonna have to do another couple of alcohol ink pages, but I don't know if you can see this. But if I do it like in almost like a shadow, that's a very cool effect too. So that's what I'm gonna do with that one before I resin it. In the meantime, I'm gonna take these pieces off. And now I am going to trim them. So now I have the first layer of resin down on my Cityscape. There's this one. I've just sanded this one so you can't see it as clearly. But then what I do is, while I only have the first coat down, I then measure where I want the hook to go, and I drill it with my Dremel, the hole to take the screw, because maple is, oh, now this is stuck in there. Oh my goodness. Okay, let me get this going. There we go. Maple is really, really hard, and I have these D hooks that are impossible to screw in. So I just do a little hole first, screw in the D hooks before I do the second coat. And the reason I do that is resin stays soft for quite a while. 72 hours is the curing rate, but I just don't want to risk anything because I'm selling these. So then, that's that done. Then I take my sander. This is a Black & Decker. I'm going to turn the noise down, but what I do is I sand lightly the first layer. This gives the second layer of resin a nice tooth, and 9 times out of 10 I get a flawless second layer. So I have been really, really busy today. I decided I had all these projects that were, you know, almost finished and not quite finished, and it was driving me crazy. So I finished these 2 of my seascapes. You can see that, and see a little shells in the corner and the sand. So there's that one. Put this down. I also finished another one, slightly different. I also took photographs of all my pieces that have to go onto my Etsy store. So that's what I'm going to be busy doing over the next few days. And now I get to finish my cityscapes. So I have their hardware on the back. I prefer to do that before I absolutely finish them, just in case any of the resin gets dented, which it won't after, you know, it's been sat for quite a while. So as you saw, I sanded them. I'm going to spray them with some alcohol just to make sure all the grease is off. Take a piece of paper towel. I have washi tape around the sides. These are going to look so good. And I have my resin mixed. This is its final coat. I don't know if I've shared this with you. This is the best thing since sliced bread. Well, not quite. It is electrical tape. I have had constant battles with masking sides of resin pieces. Painter's tape just does not work. It really does not work. Duct tape works, but I find that sometimes just is too heavy. And washi tape is very good, and I like that because it's so thin. But what I've discovered now is a combination of, let me tilt this, without washi tape and electrical tape. I use the electrical tape right up into the edges, and then the washi tape goes on that and then down the side so that the drips don't go on the bottom. All right, so that is that. I take off my glove and take my butane torch, pop all these bubbles. And the secret is, remember, you babysit your resin. So, these will be dry tomorrow. I will photograph them and put them on my Etsy site. I love these. These are so cool. So I'm going to do a whole city series, and if you have any requests, I'll do one for you. So this is my plan, is these are skyscrapers reflected in water. These are darker. What I'm going to do is do distinct buildings. So for example, I could do a Chicago one with the Sears Tower or the Hancock building. And the rest would just be as they are, just kind of blocks, or the Empire State Building, or that tower in Seattle. And I thought that would be really cool to do all these cities and just pick one. I could do Big Ben in London. That would be very cool. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've really enjoyed these cityscapes, and I will see you next time.